black people are not the original inhabitants of South Africa, which...
So my black South Africans, you people have been there in saying we don't want foreigners. You intimidating, intimidating Nigerians, intimidating Ghanaians, intimidating Zimbabweans. After all, the land does not belong to you. Can you imagine my South Africans? So the land does not belong to South Africans. This is very interesting. So it was the entire Southern Africa was occupied by only one people, that is the Khoisan people. I don't know whether the Khoisan came from Australia or they came from Europe or they came from India. These European colonial criminals, they are masters of deception. They are masters of deception. And, you know, they are not joking. They can lie. They can lie. They can write books. They can change history. They can get inspired by their so-called God and write religious books and claim lands. They will travel overseas to seize people land. I want us to go and watch the full interview, come back and talk about it. But as I keep calling on you, we want to take our YouTube channel to 10K subscribers. Please support that. Support our mission, the #1 African mission. We are on a mission, and our mission is all about our unity and our dignity, reclaiming back our dignity as African people. And for us to do that, we have to unite the continent of Africa. That is why we came out with this One African mission. We are on a mission until we regain back our continent and our dignity as a race. We can only do that by uniting our continent. So please support our mission. Share what we are doing if you appreciate it. Pass your comments. It is very important for us as we learn a lot from your experience. Pass your comments and also like it. Don't just watch it, like it. But let's go and watch the full interview. Come back. It's very interesting, honestly speaking. Let's watch it. Come back.
Black people are not the original inhabitants of South Africa, which, in fact, they're realizing that now. When they claimed that they owned all the land, the original inhabitants, of whom there are not many left, said, excuse me, no, we were the original inhabitants. You guys were migrants here as well, which they were. Okay, the original inhabitants of Southern Africa are called the Khoisan. In the West, the Bushmen are Khoisan. Hottentots are Khoisan. But you can't use those words anymore. You now have to call them Khoisan. Okay? All right, now, and they were the inhabitants of the whole of Southern Africa. So the whole of South Africa, at one stage, were Khoisan. The black people originated in what is now Cameroon. That's where they...
Hold on, Khoisan aren't black?
No.
What are they?
They're a completely separate ethnicity all on their own. In fact, if you look at them, they're kind of yellowy. They're a light brown yellow color,
right.
But they look more Asian than African. They do not consider themselves African.
Interesting.
When the white guys arrive in Cape Town, so 1652 is when Dutch guys arrived there. At that stage, you could have divided South Africa almost exactly 50-50, what's now South Africa. The western half of the country was entirely Khoisan. There were no black people there. None at all. Only Khoisan. So we're Cape Towners, all that area, Khoisan people. The northern part of the country did have black people. They'd started arriving, and they were still migrating.
How long had they been there in the northern?
Well, it's a moot point, and people have debated it. It would seem that black people had probably started arriving in the northern parts of South Africa maybe 1,000 years, something like that, about 1,000 years before whites got there, right up in the north, okay? And they've been slowly moving south because it's an empty space. I mean, one of the things about Africa is it's very empty. Up until the 1950s, Africa was very empty. It's the population exploded because white colonists, the naughty white colonists, put hospitals there, and there's been this huge population explosion since the 1950s. But Africa was really very empty up until then. And so tribes moved around and just occupied new empty territory. So the guys coming down from the north, who called the Bantu, it's called the Bantu expansions, when black people came out of the Cameroons, they'd been occupying South Africa and moving systematically south, down the east coast of South Africa.
They were pastoralists, am I right?
Yeah, they were pastoralists, yeah. Whereas the Khoisan were hunter-gatherers. They were like aboriginals, okay? So they hadn't become pastoralists yet. The black guys are migrating down from the north and doing exactly what white guys are doing. So white guys, the Dutch guys from Cape Town, was settling by moving westwards, eastwards. So the white guys are moving from Cape Town eastwards, and the black guys are moving down from the north. And they met at a place called the Fish River, which is now in the middle of South Africa, at a place called, it's still called Border. Everybody in South Africa calls that part of the country the border, even though there's no border there at all anymore. But there was a river called the Fish River, which is where blacks and whites first encountered each other. And then it started 100 years of warfare between whites and the Xhosa, who were the tribe that they met there. So now at that point, that would have been in about 1700. So whites and blacks first encountered each other in 1700. Okay, so whites had already been there for 100 years at that point.
Yeah, so as I said, my brothers and sisters from South Africa, we are coming to Southern Africa very soon. We are coming there. But you guys should prepare, because this land, according to this colonial criminal, that the land does not belong to us as South Africans. That the land that we are claiming that it is ours, it was occupied, it was empty, only occupied by the Khoisan people. I don't know where the Khoisans came to occupy that particular part of Africa, because the Khoisans are black people. And then we keep telling these colonial criminals, take your time and understand what Mother Nature has put in this continent called Africa. That is why everybody is telling you that Africa is the origin of man. That is why we, the melanated people, are the human beings. You are not human. You are mankind. We have human being and mankind. All of you came from us. That is why you are our kind. We are the word Dr. Africa told us. The word who means black. So it's who, man, black man. We are the origin of all people. Indians, Arabians, Europeans, Chinese. That is why if you go to Africa, you will see every kind of shape of human beings in Africa. The tallest human beings, you will see them in Africa. The shortest human being, you will see. The palest human being, you will see the albinos in Africa. It is only in Africa. The darkest human beings, you will see them in Africa. Everything, you will see them in Africa. You will see somebody in Africa looking like a Chinese, but it's not a Chinese. So for you to think that the Khoisans are not, I don't even know what you, and he's saying that you people use Julius Malema and President Ramaphosa, all of you, President Zuma and all of you all came from Cameroon. You all came from somewhere. So please, you guys should know that you are not South Africans. The people that you are calling, I hate foreigners, they are your people. That's where you came from. Can you imagine? This is how they can distort history. And they have that ability to lie. They can even write books. They will come to your country, take over your land, and write it on their religious books and tell you that God promised them that land maybe 5,000 years ago. They have no shame. The colonial criminals doesn't have shame. That is why you will see them. Today they are fighting. They don't want to be called European Americans. Today, as we speak today in America, European Americans doesn't want to be called European Americans. Even though they will call other people African American. But if you call them European American, they don't want it. The same thing, they went to Australia, they took over their land. They went everywhere. They will, as I said, they will travel overseas to seize people land, and they will write religious books and claim that God has promised them that land. It is their promise that their God promised them that land. So we in Southern Africa, that is always in constant abusing our brothers and sisters from Nigeria and Ghana and other parts of Africa. You also came from there, because according to this man, you came from West Africa. You came from Cameroon and all those places. So can you imagine? Europeans are masters of deception. And I like them for that, They don't care. They have no shame. On a serious note, we, the citizens of South Africa, have to be, honestly, we have to wake up. Because as we speak now, the land grabbing in South Africa is even getting worse. those Eastern Europeans in the so-called promised land that God has promised them in the Middle East, Israel, that God gave to them in 1948. Most of them, as we speak today, what we are hearing is that they are moving to South Africa in numbers. Europeans are moving to South Africa in numbers. And I can guarantee you that if we don't stop this thing that we hate foreigners, and in this instance, we are always referring to our brothers and sisters from different parts of Africa, then I am telling you, we will live to regret it. These people, very soon, you will see them coming out with religious texts in the Bible that promised them our land, the whole of Southern Africa. They never came to live. When they came to Southern Africa, they came to settle. And they made a mistake that they didn't write religious books claiming that God promised them that land, as they wrote in Israel. So today, if they have the guts, the boldness to come out and be saying things like this, and as we are hearing, most of them are moving to South Africa in numbers. They are moving there in numbers. They'll start coming out with religious books to tell us that God has promised them the land. God has given it to them. Because if this man can tell you that the land was empty, it was only occupied by, there has never been any time in African history that we have one particular people in one particular geographical location. Even in North Africa, where the Arabs came to take over, we still have different African tribes there. That is how diverse we are. We have always been. So for this man to have the guts, they can distort history. They can lie. Deception is nothing to them. They can lie. They can lie and write religious books. They can lie. They can change history. Anything just to favor themselves. And then we have to be smart as South Africans. As I said, what we are hearing, a number of them are moving, because from Eastern Europe to Israel, now they are catching hell there. A number of them are moving to Africa. We may not have problem with them, but they will have problem with us. If they can come out and start talking like this, very soon we'll see a Bible quotation or a Bible verse claiming that South Africa is a land that God promised Europeans. I thank you very much for coming around. Please, if you appreciate what we are doing, One African Mission, the #1 African mission, our mission is all about our unity as African people and our dignity as a race. If you appreciate what we are doing, then please don't hesitate to support us. But South Africa, Southern Africa, we are coming very soon. One African Mission is coming very soon. So support our mission. Let us all together fight for a united, dignified, better Africa. Not just for us, but for the next generation of Africans. Thank you.